Welcome to Black Gems Unearthed. My name is Jazz and I'm studying Black history of Massachusetts. Today I'm in Salem to talk about the infamous Salem witch trials. There are sites sprinkled all throughout Salem and surrounding towns that talk about the history of the witch trials, from the Salem Witch Museum to the home of Judge Jonathan Corwin, aka the Witch House, to memorials that recognize the tragedy that happened. The story goes that there were around 150 people that were accused of witchcraft between 1692 and 1693. Of those 150, 20 people were found guilty. 19 people were hanged, and one person was pressed to death. There were some others that passed away in jail. So you may have heard these details before about the witch trials. But did you know that an indigenous woman played a pivotal role in the witch trials? The testimony of Tituba, an enslaved woman, actually incited the witch trials. And it's her story that I'm going to focus on today. But to tell Tituba's story, we actually have to leave Salem and go over to Danvers, because that's where Salem Village was located. That was a farming community next to Salem town, which was in this Salem today area. So we're going to go up to Danvers to learn about Tituba, because that is where the witch hysteria started, and that's where her story started. I'm standing in the archaeological site of the Salem Village Parsonage. This is where the town's Puritan minister, Reverend Samuel Parris, preached, and this is also where he lived with his family, including two of the girls who were the first afflicted of witchcraft. He also had two domestic servants who were enslaved that lived with him, John Indian and Tituba. Historians have really grasped at straws to try and piece together Tituba's story, and that's because there aren't records of the stories of people who were enslaved in the 1600s and 1700s beyond bills of sales and small diary records here and there. There are some people that say that she was a woman with African heritage, and there are others that have said that she is indigenous. But from my reading, it seems more likely that she was an indigenous woman. In the book Tituba, Reluctant Witch of Salem, it appears that she is a woman of Arawak heritage, and she was captured in the 1670s to be sold into slavery. It's likely that she came from either the present-day area of Venezuela or Guyana along the Orinoco River. In the 1670s, she was likely captured and brought up to Barbados, because in Barbados, there were the sugar plantations, and the owners really liked to have Arawak and indigenous people as their servants in their households, because they didn't want to pay English servants, and they thought that enslaved Africans were not trustworthy. So historians think that she was enslaved on the plantation of a man named Samuel Thomas. In the late 1670s, a man named Samuel Parris, who I mentioned earlier, he came to Barbados in order to settle the estate of his father who passed away. And when he was there, it's likely that he purchased Tituba and brought her back to Boston with him, where he was living. A little bit later, Samuel Parris moved his whole family over to Salem Village because he wanted to take up a minister position, because he'd be able to make a little bit more money. So again, I'm in the Salem Village Parsonage. As you can see, this is the archaeological site. And this is where Reverend Parris's daughter, Betty, who was age 9, and his niece, Abigail Williams, who was 11, first experienced symptoms of witchcraft. They were afflicted by witchcraft by some unknown person.